Started nearly 3 weeks ago. It has garnered national attention.
And we want to bring in an expert now who has been following every single detail of this case. Page Pate is our CBS 46 legal analyst. Pate, we want to thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you.
The jury, they made their decision after deliberating almost 11 hours. 11 white jurors, 1 black. Critics feared justice would not come in the South. Legally, will the jurors ever speak out? Are they allowed to speak out and maybe perhaps shed light on what helped them make this decision?
Well, they're legally allowed to under Georgia law, which is a little bit different from federal. When they have this federal case in February, there are strict rules in that district where the jury cannot talk about it after the fact. But in this trial here in Glenn County, if they choose to, they can. Of course, they don't have to. And I think the judge will make sure that the lawyers respect their privacy and will leave it ultimately up to the jury if they want to speak about their verdict.
Paige, taking a look at the decisions that this jury made, they had a lot on their plate, and it looks as though they paid very careful attention to treat each defendant differently. And so you have different charges for all 3 of them, even though they've all been technically convicted today of murdering Ahmaud Arbery. But can you explain to those of us who aren't attorneys what the sentencing phase might be now with these guilty verdicts, what kind of penalty these 3 may be facing?
Absolutely. In Georgia, if you're convicted of malice murder, you get life in prison. The only issue is whether that's life in prison with the possibility of parole or without the possibility of parole. It's exactly the same for felony murder. Even though those crimes are obviously different, malice murder means you intended to kill someone. Felony murder means you committed a felony offense that led to someone's death. The punishment is exactly the same. So what this judge is going to do in a few weeks, bring them back in and decide if they get life in prison with the possibility of parole after 30 years, or they never get a chance for parole. That's the only issue to be decided.
And Paige, real quickly, Travis McMichael's defense attorney has already stated that he plans to file for an appeal in this case. What are the odds, and how does the judicial system work when a trial jury makes a decision? Can that be overturned?
Well, it can be overturned, but it is extraordinarily difficult to overturn a jury verdict. In a murder case, the appeal will go directly to the Georgia Supreme Court. I know there are some issues that the defense has raised during the trial, getting in evidence of Ahmaud Arbery's probation status, his health status, some of the charges that were read by the judge to the jury. But I don't see anything in this trial that will result in the case being reversed. This judge tried a very clean trial, as we call it, made all the right rulings, and I think did a great job.
Paige, real quickly, final thoughts here. What does this say about our criminal justice system as a whole, in general? This is a case that really would not have even come to light were it not for this videotape being leaked to the media. Prosecutors, law enforcement who were aware of this crime didn't want to charge anybody with it. Although here we are now with, in the eyes of most reasonable people, justice finally being done. What do you think this says overall about our system?
Well, it says 2 very different things, doesn't it? I mean, initially, this crime was committed and no one thought it was a crime in Glenn County. We had a district attorney down in Glenn County who said, nothing to see here. This is self-defense. We're not going to prosecute those folks. Now, fast forward a year later, she's lost her job. She's indicted herself, and all of the defendants are guilty of murder. So I'm optimistic that that's a good sign for justice. But I also think that people who do your job are very instrumental in this, because had that video not come out, had it not been broadcast and publicized, there would have been no trial, no convictions.
Page Pate, we appreciate your insight on this. And again, the jury finds all 3 suspects guilty of murder. It's a story we're going to continue to follow both on air and online, and we'll check back with you in the next hour. We are